Taiyang wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the screen in front of him. The torch runner's scanner showed nothing but space rocks and old satellite pieces floating in the darkness. He had been searching this area for 3 days, hoping to find something valuable to sell. Money was getting tight again. The ship around him was small and old. The walls had been repaired many times. Some panels didn't match the others. The pilot seat had a tear in it that he had fixed with tape. But everything worked. Taiyang made sure of that. He knew every wire, every system, every sound the ship made. The torch runner was his home, his workplace, and his only possession worth anything. Still nothing out here, Hana said through the speakers. Her voice sounded bored. Hana was the ship's AI, and she had been with Taiyang for 5 years. Maybe we should move to a different sector. We will. Just let me finish scanning this area first, Taiyang replied. He adjusted the controls, bringing the ship closer to a large piece of debris. Then the scanner beeped. It was a different sound, one that meant something was sending out a signal. Taiyang sat up straight and looked at the display. The signal was weak but steady. It was a distress beacon. That's a military frequency, Hana said. Her voice sounded more interested now. Vrilnari military, to be specific. Taiyang felt his stomach tighten. The Vrilnari were one of the most powerful alien races in the galaxy. They were tall, strong, and thought very highly of themselves. They also thought humans were weak and stupid. Working with them was always difficult, but they paid well if you could handle their attitude. Should we check it out? Hana asked. Taiyang thought for a moment. A distress call from a Vrilnari military ship could mean good money. It could also mean trouble, but he needed the work. Yeah, let's go see what they need. The torch runner moved through space toward the signal. As they got closer, Taiyang saw the ship on his screen. His eyes went wide. It was huge. The Vrilnari dreadnought was at least 50 times bigger than his repair ship. Its dark metal hull was covered in weapon ports and armor plates. But something was wrong. The ship was dark. No lights, no movement. It was floating dead in space. That's the Sovereign Talon, Hana said, reading the ship's identification code. One of their best warships. Something bad must have happened. Taiyang brought his ship alongside the massive dreadnought. Up close, he could see blast marks on the hull. Someone had attacked them. He found a docking port that still had power and connected the torch runner to it. The connection was solid. He grabbed his tool bag and headed for the airlock. Be careful, Hana said. Remember, they don't like us very much. I know, Taiyang replied. He stepped through the airlock into the Vrilnari ship. The inside of the Sovereign Talon was dark except for emergency lights. 2 Vrilnari soldiers met him immediately. They were both over 7 feet tall with scales that shined even in the dim light. They carried large weapons and looked at Taiyang like he was an insect. You are the repair technician? One of them asked. His voice was deep and harsh. Yes. I received your distress call, Taiyang said calmly. The 2 soldiers looked at each other. One of them made a sound that might have been a laugh. They sent a human? In that tiny maintenance pod? That's my ship, Taiyang said. And I'm here to help if you need it. Follow us, the soldier said, turning away. The captain wants to see you. They walked through long hallways. Everything was built for people much bigger than Taiyang. The ceilings were high. The doors were wide. He felt very small. Other Vrilnari crew members stopped to stare at him as he passed. Some of them whispered to each other. None of them looked friendly. They reached the command deck. It was a large room filled with control stations and display screens. Most of them were dark or showing error messages. In the center of the room stood the captain. She was tall, even for a Vrilnari. Her scales were a deep blue color that caught the light. She wore armor that looked both beautiful and deadly. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She looked at Taiyang the way someone might look at a broken tool. This is the repair technician? She asked the soldiers. Her voice was clear and cold. Yes, Captain Velrisa, one soldier replied. Velrisa walked slowly around Taiyang, looking him up and down. You arrive in a ship barely large enough to carry supplies and you think you can repair a Vrilnari dreadnought? Her tone made it clear what she thought of the idea. Taiyang kept his face calm. He had dealt with this kind of attitude before. My ship is small, but I know what I'm doing. What happened here? We were attacked by pirates, Velrisa said. They damaged our main power systems. My engineers have been working on repairs, but nothing works. The power comes on for a few minutes, then shuts down again. May I see the power systems? Taiyang asked. Velrisa waved her hand. If you wish. though I doubt you will understand Vrelnari technology. She nodded to one of her officers. Take him to engineering. Let him waste his time. Taeyang followed the officer down to the engineering section. The room was huge and filled with machines he had never seen before. 3 Vrelnari engineers were working on a massive power core in the center of the room. They looked tired and frustrated. When they saw Taeyang, one of them laughed. Now they send humans to fix our ship? This is shameful. Taeyang ignored the comment and walked around the power core, looking at the connections and the display screens. He pulled out a small scanner from his tool bag and started taking readings. The engineers watched him with amused expressions. After 20 minutes, Taeyang had seen enough. He understood the problem, and it was worse than he thought. He went back to the command deck. Velrisa was standing in the same spot, talking to her officers. She looked up when Taeyang entered. Well, did you figure out what my trained engineers could not? Her voice was full of sarcasm. Yes, Taeyang said simply. The pirates didn't just damage your power core. They put a virus in your computer systems. Every time you try to start the power, the virus creates new problems. Your engineers keep fixing the damage, but the virus just makes more. You're fighting a battle you can't win this way. The room went quiet. Velrisa stared at him. A virus? That's impossible. Our systems have defenses against such attacks. It's a smart virus, Taeyang explained. It disguises itself as normal system errors. Your defenses don't even know it's there. That's why your repairs keep failing. One of Velrisa's officers stepped forward. If what you say is true, how do we remove it? You can't, not with your current tools, Taeyang said. The virus is too complex. It will just hide and come back. You need to isolate your systems and clean them one at a time, using an independent computer. My ship has systems that can do that. Velrisa narrowed her eyes. You want to connect your primitive ship to our systems? That could be sabotage. It could be, Taeyang agreed. Or it could save your ship. Your choice. But every hour you wait, the virus spreads deeper into your systems. Soon it will reach life support and weapons. Then you'll be completely helpless if those pirates come back. Velrisa was silent for a long moment. Taeyang could see her thinking, weighing her options. She clearly didn't want to trust a human, especially not with her ship, but she also knew he was right about the danger. Finally, she spoke. Very well. You may attempt your repairs, but know this, human. If you fail, I will consider it an act of sabotage. And if you are sabotaging my ship, I will kill you myself. Slowly, Taeyang nodded. Understood. I'll need access to your main computer systems and permission to connect my ship's hardware. You will have it, Velrisa said. She gestured to her officers. Give him whatever he needs, but watch him closely. As Taeyang turned to leave, Velrisa called out to him. Human, what is your name? Taeyang, he replied. Taeyang, she repeated as if testing the sound of it. Do not disappoint me. I won't, he said and walked out of the command deck. He had a lot of work to do and not much time to do it. Taeyang crawled through a narrow maintenance tunnel carrying cables and tools. The space was tight even for him. The Vrelnari who built this ship never thought someone would need to work in these spaces. They just built machines to do it. But the machines were offline, so Taeyang had to do it the hard way. How's it going down there? Hana asked through his earpiece. Hot and cramped, Taeyang replied, wiping sweat from his face. But I'm making progress. I've connected 6 of the main junction points to the torch runner. Only 4 more to go. The Vrelnari engineers are watching every move you make, Hana said. They still don't trust you. I know. I can feel them staring. Taeyang connected another cable and tested the connection. The light turned green. Good. He moved on to the next junction. The work was hard and slow. Taeyang had to connect the torch runner's independent computer systems to the Sovereign Talon's network without letting the virus spread to his ship. It was like performing surgery on someone while they were standing next to a sick person. One wrong move and both would be infected. He worked for 6 hours straight, connecting cables, checking systems, and building protective barriers in the code. His back hurt. His hands were covered in small cuts, but he kept going. Up on the command deck, Velrisa watched Taeyang through the security cameras. She had been watching for hours. At first, she was looking for signs of sabotage, but now she was simply curious. The human worked differently than her engineers. They followed procedures and protocols. He seemed to make up solutions as he went along, adapting to each new problem. Captain, why do you let him do this? Commander Vextal asked. He was her second in command, a traditional warrior who distrusted all outsiders. We should wait for a proper Vrilnari repair ship. The nearest Vrilnari ship is 2 days away, Velrisa replied, not taking her eyes off the screen. We may not have 2 days. The pirates could return. Or worse, our enemies might learn that the Sovereign Talon is helpless. We need power now, but a human? Vexthal's voice was full of doubt. Velrisa finally looked at him. Watch him work, Commander. Really watch. He does things our engineers said were impossible. Perhaps we have underestimated his species. Vexthal grunted but said nothing more. He did not look convinced. After 8 hours, Taeyang finished connecting all the cables. Now came the dangerous part. He had to enter the ship's main computer room and manually access the core systems. The room was heavily irradiated from the battle damage. A human could survive in there for maybe 10 minutes before the radiation became deadly. Taeyang, I'm reading dangerous radiation levels in that room, Hana warned. You shouldn't go in there. I don't have a choice, Taeyang said. He pulled on a protective suit, though he knew it would only help a little. The manual override is in there. I need to activate it before we can start the cleaning process. 10 minutes maximum, Hana said. I'll count down for you. Taeyang opened the door to the computer room and stepped inside. Immediately, his suit's radiation detector started beeping. The sound was steady and urgent. He ignored it and moved quickly to the main console. On the command deck, Velrisa watched Taeyang enter the irradiated room. Her officer turned to her. Captain, should we stop him? The radiation will kill him. Velrisa stared at the screen. Her hand gripped the arm of her chair. He knows the danger. He chose to enter anyway. She found herself leaning forward, watching intently. Why would this small human risk his life for a ship that was not his own? For people who had mocked him and doubted him? It made no sense. Yet there he was, working calmly while radiation poisoned his body with every passing second. Taeyang's hands moved quickly over the console, entering commands and codes. His vision was starting to blur. His hands shook slightly. The radiation was affecting him already. 7 minutes, Hana said in his ear. Your heart rate is elevated. You need to hurry. Almost there, Taeyang muttered. He entered the final command sequence. The console beeped. Access granted. He activated the manual override and started the connection protocol to the torch runner. Now his ship could begin cleaning the virus from the systems. 9 minutes, Hana warned. Get out of there now. Taeyang turned and walked toward the door. His legs felt weak. The room seemed to spin slightly. He reached the door and stepped through. It closed behind him and he pulled off his helmet, breathing hard. Good job not dying, Hana said. Now get to the medical bay before you collapse. Not yet, Taeyang said. I need to start the cleaning process. Then I'll get medical help. He made his way back to the torch runner, moving slowly. Every step took effort. He climbed into his ship and sat down at the controls. His hands were shaking badly now. He started typing commands into the computer. I've got it from here, Hana said gently. I'll run the virus cleaning program. You need to rest. Thanks, Hana, Taeyang whispered. He leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. For the next 12 hours, Hana worked through the Sovereign Talon's computer systems. She created a clean digital environment and moved each system into it one by one. When she found the virus code, she isolated it and deleted it. The virus tried to fight back, spreading to new areas and hiding in backup systems. But Hana was smarter. She predicted where it would go and blocked those paths. Slowly, carefully, she cleaned every infected system. The Vrilnari engineers watched in amazement. They had never seen an AI work like this. Most AIs followed strict rules. Hana seemed to think creatively, almost like a living being. Finally, after 18 hours of total work, Hana announced that the systems were clean. She initiated the power restart sequence. On the command deck, everyone held their breath. The lights came on. All of them. The displays lit up with information. The air systems hummed to life. Power flowed through the ship like blood returning to a body. The Sovereign Talon was alive again. The bridge crew cheered. Even Vexthal allowed himself a small smile. Velrisa stood in the center of the room, looking at the active displays around her. Her ship was saved. They were no longer helpless. Then she remembered Taeyang. Where is the human? She asked. An officer checked the monitors. He collapsed in his ship, Captain. The radiation exposure was severe. Velrisa moved immediately. Take me to him now. She walked quickly through the halls, her officers following. When she reached the torch runner, she went inside without asking permission. The ship was tiny compared to her dreadnought. She had to duck through the doorways. Taeyang was lying in the pilot chair, unconscious. His face was pale and covered in sweat. Velrisa checked his pulse. It was weak but steady. Without thinking, she carefully lifted him in her arms. He was surprisingly light. She carried him out of the torch runner and through the halls of her ship. Her crew stared in shock. Their captain, a high-born warrior, was carrying a human like he was something precious. In the medical bay, the doctors immediately began treating Taeyang. They gave him medicine for the radiation and connected him to machines that would help his body heal. Velrisa stood nearby, watching. "He will recover," the chief medical officer said. "The radiation damage is significant, but we caught it in time." "He needs rest." Velrisa nodded. She pulled up a chair and sat down beside the medical bed. She had no reason to stay. Her ship was repaired. Her crew needed her on the bridge, but she stayed anyway. Several hours later, Taeyang opened his eyes. Everything hurt. His vision was blurry at first, but it slowly cleared. He saw Velrisa sitting beside him. She looked different somehow. The cold, arrogant expression was gone. She just looked tired and concerned. "Welcome back," she said quietly. Taeyang tried to speak, but his throat was dry. Velrisa held a cup of water to his lips. He drank, then managed to speak. "Did it work? Is your ship working?" "Yes," Velrisa said. "Everything is working perfectly. You saved my ship, Taeyang. You saved all of us," Taeyang smiled weakly. "Good, that means you'll pay me, right?" Velrisa stared at him for a moment, then did something unexpected. She laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and genuine. "Yes, human. I will pay you. More than you asked for." She leaned forward slightly. "I was wrong about you. About your ship and about your species. I thought you were weak because you were small. But I see now that strength comes in many forms. You have a different kind of strength. One I did not understand before." Taeyang felt his face grow warm. He was not used to praise, especially from someone like Velrisa. "I just did my job," he said. "No," Velrisa said firmly. "You risked your life for people who insulted you. You worked without rest. You solved a problem my best engineers could not solve. That is more than just doing a job." She stood up. "Rest now. You will stay on my ship until you are fully healed. When you are well, we will talk about your future." "My future?" Taeyang asked. Velrisa smiled slightly. "I have a proposition for you, but it can wait. Sleep now, Taeyang." She left the medical bay, leaving Taeyang confused but strangely happy. He closed his eyes and fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he belonged somewhere. 3 days passed. Taeyang recovered slowly in the medical bay of the Sovereign Talon. The Vrelnari doctors were good at their work. The radiation damage was healing and his strength was returning. During those 3 days, something strange happened. Velrisa visited him every day. At first, she came to check on his recovery. She would ask the doctors about his condition, nod seriously, and leave. But then she started staying longer. She would sit in the chair beside his bed and ask him questions. Simple questions at first. Where was he from? How did he learn to repair ships? Why did he work alone? Taeyang answered honestly. He told her about Earth, about growing up in a small city, about joining the military as an engineer. He explained how he got tired of working for big corporations that only cared about profit. So he bought his own ship and started working independently. The torch runner was old and small, but it was his. Velrisa listened carefully to every word. She seemed genuinely interested. Then she started sharing her own stories. She told him about growing up in a famous military family. Her parents were both generals. Her grandfather was a war hero. Everyone expected her to be great. The pressure was constant and heavy. Being a female commander makes it harder, Velrisa admitted. In Vrelnari culture, most military leaders are male. I have to be twice as good to receive half the respect. Every mistake I make reflects on all female warriors. Taeyang understood that feeling. Humans face similar problems in the galaxy. Other species see us as weak or primitive. We have to prove ourselves constantly. Velrisa looked at him thoughtfully. Perhaps we have more in common than I realized. Their conversations grew longer and more personal. They talked about philosophy, about leadership, about what it meant to do the right thing when everyone expected something different. Taeyang discovered that Velrisa was not the cold, arrogant warrior she appeared to be. She was intelligent, thoughtful, and carried burdens that would crush most people. On the fourth day, the doctors cleared Taeyang to leave the medical bay. He was still weak, but he could walk and work light duty. Velrisa invited him to her private office. It was a large room with weapons and medals displayed on the walls. A big window showed the stars outside. "I have a proposal for you," Velrisa said. She poured 2 drinks and handed one to Taeyang. "The Sovereign Talon will be entering dangerous territory soon. We expect heavy fighting. I want you to stay with us as a consultant. Your way of thinking could save lives." Taeyang was surprised. "You want to hire me?" "For how long?" "As long as you wish to stay," Velrisa said. "You would keep your independence. The Torch Runner remains yours. You can leave any time, but I want first priority on your services." The pay would be generous. Taeyang thought about it. The money would solve many problems. But working for a military force made him uncomfortable. That was why he left Earth's military in the first place. "I need to think about it," he said. "Of course," Velrisa said. "Take your time." Before Taeyang could respond, an alarm sounded through the ship. Red lights flashed. A voice came over the speakers announcing a combat alert. Velrisa immediately moved to the door. "Come with me," she said. They rushed to the command deck. The bridge crew was already at their stations. Commander Vexthal turned when Velrisa entered. "Captain, we're being surrounded. It's the same pirate fleet that attacked us before. But now they have reinforcements. At least 20 ships." Velrisa looked at the tactical display. "The pirates had them boxed in. Prepare all weapons. Ready the shields. We fight." The battle began immediately. The Sovereign Talon was powerful, but the pirates had numbers. They attacked from multiple directions using hit-and-run tactics. The Vrelnari crew fought bravely, but they were being overwhelmed. Taeyang watched the battle on the displays. He noticed something. The pirate ships were coordinating their attacks perfectly. Too perfectly. Someone was giving them orders, directing their movements. "They have a command ship," he said. Velrisa looked at him. "Where?" Taeyang studied the displays. "Hidden in that asteroid field. See how the pirates keep circling back to that position? They're receiving new orders there. The command ship is using the asteroids to hide from your sensors." Vexthal shook his head. "Even if that's true, we cannot pursue them. The Sovereign Talon is too large to enter that field. The asteroids would tear us apart. But the Torch Runner can go in there," Taeyang said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. Velrisa's eyes widened. "No, that would be suicide. Your ship has no real weapons and no armor. The pirates would destroy you." "Not if I'm careful," Taeyang said. "I can use the asteroids for cover. If I can reach their command ship and disable their communications, the pirate fleet will fall apart. They won't be able to coordinate." "You can defeat them then." Velrisa stepped closer to him. Her face was tense. "I cannot ask you to do this. It's too dangerous." "You're not asking," Taeyang said. "I'm offering. This is what I do. I find solutions that others don't see." He smiled slightly. "Besides, you need me alive to pay me all that money you promised." Velrisa looked at him for a long moment. He could see the conflict in her eyes. Finally, she nodded. "Go, but be careful, Taeyang. Come back alive." "I will," he promised. Then he ran from the bridge toward the docking bay where the Torch Runner waited. Minutes later, Taeyang was in his pilot seat. His hands moved over the familiar controls. Despite the danger, he felt calm. This was his element. Small, fast, alone against impossible odds. "Ready when you are," Hana said. "Let's go," Taeyang replied. The Torch Runner separated from the Sovereign Talon and dove toward the asteroid field. Almost immediately, pirate ships noticed and moved to intercept. Taeyang pushed his ship to maximum speed, weaving between their weapons' fire. He entered the asteroid field at a dangerous angle. The pirates tried to follow but had to pull back. Their larger ships could not navigate the tight spaces. Taeyang flew deeper into the field, using every trick he knew. The asteroids were moving, spinning, colliding. He had to constantly adjust his course, flying on instinct and quick reflexes. "Sensors are picking up a large ship ahead," Hana reported. "That must be the command vessel." Taeyang saw it through the window. The pirate command ship was hiding in a crater on a large asteroid. It was heavily armed but not moving. Perfect. He circled around, staying behind smaller asteroids to avoid detection. He could not destroy the command ship. The Torch Runner's weapons were too weak, but he did not need to destroy it. He just needed to disable their communications. Taeyang pulled out his mining equipment. Repair ships often carried mining tools for salvage work. He modified one of the tools into a makeshift weapon. "This is crazy, even for you," Hana said. "I know," Taiyang replied with a grin. He lined up his shot carefully. The mining laser was designed to cut through metal. The command ship's communication array was exposed on its hull. One shot. That was all he would get before they detected him. He fired. The modified mining laser cut through space and hit the communication array perfectly. Sparks flew. The array exploded in a shower of metal and light. Immediately, the command ship's alarms went off. The ship tried to move, but it was too late. Taiyang spun the torch runner around and accelerated away. The command ship fired at him, but he was already behind an asteroid. He flew through the field at top speed, taking risks that would terrify most pilots. Explosions burst around him as the pirates tried desperately to stop him. On the Sovereign Talon, Velrisa saw the effect immediately. The pirate fleet's coordination broke down. Ships stopped working together. Some continued attacking while others pulled back. Some even fired at each other by accident. It was chaos. All weapons, fire at will, Velrisa commanded. "Drive them back." The Vrelnari crew responded with fierce determination. The Sovereign Talon's weapons blazed. Without coordination, the pirates could not maintain their attack. One by one, their ships were destroyed or forced to retreat. Within minutes, the battle was over. The pirates fled in disarray. Velrisa waited anxiously, watching the sensors for any sign of the torch runner. Then she saw it. The small ship emerged from the asteroid field, damaged but intact. Relief flooded through her. When Taiyang docked and came back aboard, the entire bridge crew was waiting. They cheered when he entered. Even Vexthal, the skeptical commander, nodded with respect. Velrisa stepped forward. In front of all her crew, she placed her hand over her heart in a formal Vrelnari salute. "You have earned the gratitude of the Sovereign Talon and all who serve on her. You have proven yourself a warrior of great courage and skill." Then she did something that shocked everyone present. She removed one of her military decorations, a silver mark that indicated honor in battle, and pinned it to Taeyang's shirt. In Vrelnari culture, this was a profound gesture. It meant she accepted him as part of her clan, as family. The crew murmured in surprise, but no one objected. They had all seen what Taiyang did. They had all been saved by his courage. That evening, Velrisa came to visit Taiyang in his quarters aboard the Torch Runner. His ship was being repaired by Vrelnari engineers who now treated it with respect. Taiyang was checking the damage reports when she arrived. "I wanted to thank you personally," Velrisa said. "Not as a captain, but as myself." Taiyang turned to face her. In the small space of his ship, she seemed even taller, but somehow less intimidating. "You already thanked me," he said. "That was a formal recognition," Velrisa said. "This is different." She sat down on the edge of his bunk, the only other seat in the small quarters. "I have never met anyone like you, Taiyang. You are brave without being reckless, smart without being arrogant. You see solutions where others see only problems." Taiyang felt his face grow warm. He was not good at receiving compliments. "I just do what makes sense. Will you stay?" Velrisa asked quietly. "Will you accept my offer to work with the Sovereign Talon?" Taiyang looked at her. He saw genuine hope in her eyes. Something had changed between them over these past days. The contempt and arrogance were gone. In their place was respect, trust, and something else. Something neither of them had words for yet. "Yes," he said. "I'll stay. For a while at least," Velrisa smiled. It was a real smile, warm and beautiful. "Good, I am glad." She stood to leave, then paused at the door. "Taiyang, I need you to know something. What I feel. This is complicated. My culture, my position. There are rules about such things." Taiyang understood what she was trying to say. "I know, we can take it slow. Figure things out as we go." Velrisa nodded, grateful for his understanding. "Thank you. Good night, Taiyang." "Good night, Velrisa." After she left, Taiyang sat for a long time thinking. His life had just become much more complicated. But somehow he did not mind. Over the next few weeks, Taiyang settled into life aboard the Sovereign Talon. His official role was technical consultant. He helped the Vrelnari engineers solve problems, optimized ship systems, and trained them to think more creatively. The crew, who once mocked him, now sought his advice. Even Vexthal treated him with grudging respect. But the most significant change was his relationship with Velrisa. They spent more and more time together. At first, they only met to discuss ship operations and upcoming missions. but those meetings lasted longer than necessary. They would talk about other things: books, music, philosophy, their different cultures and how they saw the world. Velrisa showed Taiyang the Vrelnari combat techniques. She was graceful and powerful, moving with precision that amazed him. On return, Taiyang introduced her to human music and literature. She was fascinated by human stories, by the emotions and ideas they contained. They shared meals together in her private quarters, away from the formal atmosphere of the officers' dining hall. They laughed at each other's jokes. They argued about strategy and ethics, debating fiercely but always with respect. Slowly, something deep was growing between them. One evening, after a successful mission, Velrisa invited Taiyang to her quarters for dinner. The room was dimly lit. Soft music played in the background. It felt different than their usual meetings. More intimate. They ate slowly, talking about small things, but there was tension in the air, something unspoken hanging between them. Finally, Velrisa set down her glass and looked at Taiyang directly. "I need to tell you something," she said. Her voice was quiet but serious. "What I am feeling for you. It is not appropriate. Not for a Vrelnari captain. Not for someone of my position. Relationships with other species are considered shameful. It would damage my reputation. My family would be dishonored." Taiyang listened without interrupting. He had known this conversation was coming. "But?" he asked gently. Velrisa looked down at her hands. "But I cannot ignore how I feel. When I am with you, I am not just a captain or a warrior. I am myself. You see me as a person, not as a symbol or a rank. I have never had that before." She looked up at him. "I care for you, Taiyang. Deeply. More than I should. More than is wise." Taiyang reached across the table and gently took her hand. Her skin was cool and smooth, the scales delicate under his fingers. "I feel the same way," he said. "I know it's complicated, I know there are risks, but I cannot pretend this is not real." Velrisa's eyes showed relief and fear at the same time. "If we do this, we must be careful. My crew cannot know. My superiors cannot know. If this becomes public, I could lose everything." "I understand," Taiyang said. "We'll keep it private, between us." Velrisa stood and walked around the table. She pulled Taiyang to his feet and looked into his eyes. Then slowly, she leaned down and kissed him. It was tentative at first, uncertain, but then it deepened, becoming something passionate and real. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Velrisa rested her forehead against his. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "I know," Taiyang replied. "But some things are worth the risk." From that night on, their relationship changed. They became lovers, though they kept it secret from everyone. Velrisa would visit Taiyang's quarters aboard the Torch Runner late at night when the crew was asleep. The small ship gave them privacy that they could not find anywhere else on the massive dreadnought. In those private moments, Velrisa could be vulnerable. She would tell Taiyang about her fears and doubts, about the pressure she faced every day. He listened and offered comfort, never judging her. With him, she did not have to be strong all the time. She could just be Velrisa, not Captain Velrisa. Taiyang found himself happier than he had been in years. Velrisa brought joy and excitement to his life. She was brilliant, passionate, and caring. She made him feel valued and important. He started to imagine a future with her, despite knowing how difficult it would be. Hana noticed the change in Taiyang immediately. "You're spending a lot of time with the captain," she observed one morning. Her tone was neutral but knowing. Taiyang did not try to lie. Hana knew him too well. "Yes," he admitted. "Be careful," Hana said. "This could end badly for both of you." "I know," Taiyang replied. "But I care about her, Hana. Really care about her." Hana was quiet for a moment, then she said, "Then I hope it works out. You deserve to be happy." But keeping the relationship secret was difficult. Commander Vexthal started to notice his captain's changed behavior. She smiled more. She was distracted sometimes during briefings. And she spent unusual amounts of time away from the command deck. Vexthal began watching more carefully. He saw how Velrisa looked at the human when she thought no one was paying attention. He noticed how Taeyang's eyes followed her when she left a room. As a loyal officer who had served with Velrisa for years, he felt it was his duty to investigate. One night, Vexthal happened to be passing through the docking bay. He saw Velrisa entering the torch runner. She looked around carefully before going inside, like she was making sure no one saw her. Vexthal waited, hidden in the shadows. 2 hours later, Velrisa emerged from the small ship. Her armor was slightly disheveled. Her expression was soft and content. Vexthal felt anger and shock rise within him. His captain, a proud Vrelnari warrior from a noble family, was involved with a human. It was unthinkable. It was shameful. It was wrong. The next morning, Vexthal confronted Taeyang in a maintenance corridor where no one else was present. The big Vrelnari blocked Taeyang's path, his face dark with anger. "I know what you are doing. With Captain Velrisa," Vexthal said, his voice low and dangerous. "You are taking advantage of her, using her for your own benefit." Taeyang stayed calm, though his heart was racing. "You're wrong. I would never take advantage of her. What we have is real." "Real?" Vexthal stepped closer, towering over Taeyang. "A human and a Vrelnari? It is an insult to her family, an insult to our entire culture. You are bringing shame to a great warrior." "That is for her to decide, not you," Taeyang said firmly. "She is an adult and a captain. She makes her own choices." Vexthal grabbed Taeyang by the shirt and lifted him off the ground. "If you truly cared for her, you would leave. You would protect her reputation instead of destroying it." "Put him down, Commander." Velrisa's voice cut through the tension like a blade. She stood at the end of the corridor, her expression cold and controlled. Vexthal immediately released Taeyang and turned to face his captain. "Captain, I know what you were doing," Velrisa said. She walked closer, her eyes fixed on Vexthal. "And I know what you saw last night." Vexthal straightened. "Captain, please. You must end this." "Oh no, there is no shame in caring for someone," Velrisa said. Her voice was firm. "Taeyang and I are involved. Yes, it is my choice. My decision. And I do not need your permission or your approval." Vexthal looked pained. "I am trying to protect you. When this becomes known, you will lose your command. Your family will be disgraced. Everything you have worked for will be destroyed." "Perhaps," Velrisa said quietly, "but I cannot live my life afraid of what others think. I cannot pretend to be someone I am not just to please people who do not truly care about me." She looked at Taeyang, then back at Vexthal. "Taeyang makes me happy. He treats me as an equal. He sees beyond my rank and my species. That is rare and precious. I will not give it up out of fear." Vexthal was silent for a long moment. His loyalty to Velrisa warred with his cultural beliefs. Finally, he said, "What do you want me to do, Captain?" "Keep our secret," Velrisa said. "Say nothing to anyone. Can you do that?" Vexthal struggled with the request. His duty said he should report this to higher command. But his loyalty to Velrisa, who he had served faithfully for years, was stronger. "Yes, Captain," he finally said. "I will say nothing. But please be careful. Others may not be as understanding." "Thank you, Commander," Velrisa said. Vexthal nodded stiffly and left. When he was gone, Velrisa turned to Taeyang. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Taeyang said. "But he was right about one thing. This is dangerous for you. Maybe we should—" Velrisa put her finger on his lips, silencing him. "No, I told you. I am not afraid. I am tired of living according to rules that make no sense. I want to be happy. I want to be with you." Taeyang took her hand and kissed it gently. "Then we face whatever comes together." Together, Velrisa agreed, but both of them knew that the situation had changed. Vexthal knew their secret. He had promised to keep it, but that promise might not hold forever. They were living on borrowed time. That night, Velrisa came to the torch runner as usual. She and Taeyang lay together in the small bunk, holding each other close. The title of the story was becoming reality. She refused to leave, finding comfort and peace in his arms. For both of them, this small ship had become a sanctuary, a place where they could be themselves without fear or judgment. "Whatever happens," Velrisa whispered in the darkness, "I do not regret this. I do not regret us. Neither do I, Taeyang replied, holding her tighter. Outside, the stars shined cold and distant. Inside the torch runner, two beings from different worlds found warmth and hope in each other. The future was uncertain and dangerous, but for now they had this moment. And that was enough. 2 weeks passed in relative peace. Taeyang and Velrisa continued their secret relationship, growing closer despite the constant fear of discovery. But their private happiness was about to face its greatest test. The communication came directly from Vrelnari High Command. An urgent message for Captain Velrisa. Taeyang was on the bridge when she received it. He watched her face grow tense as she read the transmission. When she finished reading, Velrisa looked at Vexthal. Clear the bridge. Everyone except Commander Vexthal and Taeyang. The crew filed out quickly. When the door closed, Velrisa spoke. Her voice was controlled, but Taeyang could hear the anger underneath. High Command knows about us. Someone reported our relationship. They are ordering me to end it immediately and remove Taeyang from the ship. If I refuse, I will face court-martial. Taeyang felt his stomach drop. Who told them? Vexthal looked uncomfortable. I kept my promise, Captain. But there are many crew members on this ship. Someone must have seen something and reported it. Before anyone could respond, another alarm sounded. This one was different, more urgent. A tactical officer's voice came through the speakers. Captain, multiple unknown ships appearing on sensors. They are massive. Thousands of them. Velrisa rushed to the main display. Her eyes widened. The screen showed a fleet unlike anything Taeyang had ever seen. The ships were identical, moving in perfect formation. They had no markings, no variation. They looked ancient and terrifying. What are those? Taeyang asked. AI warships, Velrisa said quietly. From the old wars. We thought they were all destroyed centuries ago, but it appears some survived. More reports came in. The AI fleet was attacking everything. Human colonies, Vrelnari outposts, other alien settlements. They made no distinction between species. They simply destroyed all organic life they encountered. Within hours, an emergency coalition was formed. Human ships, Vrelnari warships, and vessels from a dozen other species gathered to face the AI threat. The old rivalries and prejudices were forgotten. Survival came first. Velrisa received new orders from High Command. The ultimatum about her relationship was postponed. She was to join the coalition fleet and help defeat the AI armada. After that, she would still have to answer for her actions. But for now, her tactical expertise was needed. The coalition leaders held a strategy meeting by video link. Taeyang was allowed to attend because of his technical knowledge. The various commanders argued about tactics. The AI ships were superior in every way. They had better weapons, better shields, better coordination. A direct battle would be a massacre. Taeyang listened to the arguments for an hour. Then he spoke up. The AI's strength is also its weakness. They coordinate perfectly because they think the same way. They are predictable. A human admiral on the screen looked at him. What do you mean? They cannot adapt to chaos, Taeyang explained. They analyze patterns and respond with perfect efficiency. But if we make our actions random, unpredictable, they will not know how to respond. We use calculated chaos against their perfect order. Another commander shook his head. That sounds good in theory, but how do we implement it? Our fleets need coordination too. Taeyang had an idea. The torch runner can infiltrate their network. It's small enough to avoid detection. If I can get close to their central command node and upload a virus, I can introduce uncertainty into their coordination. It will not destroy them, but it will make them confused. Then the fleet can attack while they are disorganized. Velrisa immediately objected. No, that is too dangerous. You would be flying into the heart of the enemy fleet. It's the only way, Taeyang said, looking at her. You know it is. The other commanders debated. Some agreed with the plan. Others thought it was suicide. Finally, they voted. The majority approved. Taeyang would attempt the infiltration. The Sovereign Talon would lead a coordinated assault to provide cover and capitalize on any confusion he created. That night, Taeyang prepared the torch runner for the mission. Hana helped him write the virus code. It was complex work, designed to introduce random variations into the AI's decision-making process. Not enough to shut them down, but enough to make them hesitate and question their own calculations. Velrisa came to see him. Her face showed the conflict she felt. As a military commander, she knew the mission was necessary. As someone who loved him, she wanted to stop him from going. I could order you not to go, she said quietly. You could, Taeyang agreed. But you won't, because you know this is right. Velrisa closed her eyes. I do not want to lose you. Taeyang took her hands in his. You won't, I will come back. I promise. They held each other for a long time. No more words were needed. They both knew that tomorrow would determine not just their future, but the future of millions of lives across the galaxy. The battle began at dawn. The Coalition fleet engaged the AI Armada in a massive conflict. Thousands of ships on both sides. The space between them lit up with weapons fire and explosions. The scale was overwhelming. Taeyang launched the Torch Runner during the chaos. He flew through the battle, dodging weapons fire from both sides. His small ship was fast and maneuverable. The AI ships mostly ignored him, focusing on the larger threats. It took him an hour to reach the AI command node. It was a massive ship at the center of their formation. Taeyang approached carefully, using debris and destroyed ships for cover. The node's defenses were formidable, but they were designed to stop large warships, not a small repair vessel. He connected to their network using modified cables. The AI systems immediately detected the intrusion and tried to block him, but Hana was ready. She fought a digital battle, creating distractions while Taeyang uploaded the virus. The upload was 90% complete when the AI adapted. They started using offensive programs that targeted Hana directly. She had to sacrifice parts of herself to protect the virus upload. Taeyang watched in horror as Hana's personality began to fragment. Hana, pull back, he shouted. No! Her voice was distorted, breaking up. Upload must complete. The upload reached 100%. The virus activated. Immediately, the AI fleet's coordination began to falter. Ships started making mistakes, questioning their own decisions, firing at incorrect targets. The perfect machine had become uncertain, but the cost was high. Hana's core systems were destroyed. Taeyang! It was honor. To serve. Her voice faded to static, then silence. Taeyang felt tears on his face. Goodbye, Hana. Thank you for everything. The AI command node realized what happened and targeted the Torch Runner. Weapons fire tore through the small ship. Systems exploded. The hull breached. Taeyang fought to maintain control, but it was useless. The ship was dying. On the Sovereign Talon, Velrisa saw the Torch Runner taking damage. Her command instincts warred with her personal feelings. The Coalition fleet was pressing the advantage, destroying confused AI ships. Victory was within reach. But Taeyang was dying. Vexthal stood beside her. Captain, what are your orders? Velrisa made her decision. All power to engines. We are going in. Captain, that is the heart of the enemy fleet. Vexthal protested. I know, Velrisa said. But I will not leave him to die. She looked at Vexthal. If you want to stop me, do it now. Otherwise we go together. Vexthal was silent for a moment. Then he smiled. For the captain, he said. For honor. And for the human who proved us all wrong. The Sovereign Talon charged into the enemy formation. The crew fought with desperate courage. They took massive damage, but they kept going. Velrisa herself piloted a small dropship, flying out into the battle to reach the Torch Runner. She found Taeyang unconscious in the wreckage. The ship was seconds from exploding. She pulled him out and carried him back to her dropship. They escaped just as the Torch Runner detonated behind them. Back on the Sovereign Talon, the medical team worked on Taeyang immediately. His injuries were severe but not fatal. Velrisa stayed by his side, ignoring her own wounds and her duties on the bridge. The battle ended in victory for the Coalition. The confused AI fleet was destroyed. Millions of lives were saved. Taeyang's plan had worked. When Taeyang woke up 3 days later, Velrisa was still there. She looked exhausted but relieved. You came back, he said weakly. I promised I would, Velrisa replied. The Torch Runner? Taeyang asked, though he already knew the answer. Gone, Velrisa said softly. But you are alive. That is what matters. Over the following weeks, the political situation resolved itself. High Command could not punish Velrisa for saving Taeyang. Public opinion was too strong. Both humans and Vrelnari celebrated their victory. The two species that fought together became heroes. A compromise was reached. Velrisa would be reassigned to diplomatic duties in the Void Margin. Technically a demotion, but one that allowed her to maintain her honor. More importantly, it let her work openly with Taeyang. They became official partners in building better relationships between species. 6 months later, Taeyang stood in the docking bay of a new station. Beside him was a ship. It was larger than the Torch Runner but still small enough for one person to operate. The Vrelnari government had built it as thanks for his service. It had all the latest technology and equipment. Velrisa walked up beside him. She wore civilian clothes now instead of armor. She looked more relaxed, more herself. "Do you like it?" she asked. "It's beautiful," Taeyang said. "But it's not the Torch Runner." "No," Velrisa agreed. "Nothing will replace that ship. But this one can make new memories." She took his hand. "Our quarters are ready. Together as we planned." Taeyang smiled. The title of their story had come full circle. The alien captain who once mocked his tiny repair ship now refused to leave his side. They lived together, worked together, and faced the future together. Their relationship was no longer a scandal. It was a symbol, proof that different species could find common ground, proof that love could cross any barrier, proof that sometimes the smallest, most unlikely connections could change the galaxy. Vexthal, now serving as Velrisa's second-in-command in their new diplomatic role, had become one of their strongest supporters. He often told the story of how a human with a tiny ship had saved the entire Sovereign Talon, and how that same human had taught him that strength came in many forms. That evening, in their shared quarters, Taeyang and Velrisa sat together watching the stars through the large window. She rested her head on his shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Everything you lost, your ship, your old life." Taeyang thought about it. He had lost the Torch Runner. He had lost Hana. He had lost his simple, independent life, but he had gained so much more. "No," he said honestly. "I found something better. I found you." Velrisa smiled and kissed him gently. "And I found you, the small human with the tiny ship who changed everything." Outside, the galaxy continued its endless dance. Inside their quarters, two people from different worlds had found home in each other. The mockery had turned to love. The impossible had become real. And every night, just as the title promised, she refused to leave. Because she had finally found where she belonged. Together they would face whatever came next. Not as human and Vrelnari, not as captain and technician, but as partners, equals, and two people who proved that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. The end.